The New Orleans Saints. 0-1. Tough loss in week 1. Now they travel to the Meadowlands to face the New York Giants, who are 1-0 after a win over Big D. And here is, we were just talking about it, maybe the Giants aren't such a pushover on D. Maybe the free agency makeover has made a difference. At least in week 1 it looked good. But again, you're facing a rookie quarterback with had to have jitters, and the Dallas offense wasn't quite right. But now you get a New Orleans offense that looked great in week 1. So this will be a real test to me on how much the Giants have improved on the defensive side of the ball, Chris Wesley.
I think it should be. Yeah, I think they looked fantastic in week 1. A lot better than I expected. The defensive line, Olivier Vernon and Snacks Harrison, Jason Pierre-Paul. I think Pro Football Focus had Pierre-Paul and Olivier Vernon with 5 hurries apiece, which is a pretty big game for
Any
both.
tackles for JPP? Get that big
He
old
had a
mitt.
few. He had a few. It doesn't have the big club. He's looking better. Jonathan Hank. I mean, Snacks made a difference.
That's unkind.
When you're winning your share of battles against the Cowboys' offensive line, you're doing something right. Snacks. That's a painful loss for the Jets.
I think also.
Oh, really? Because my defensive line really floundered without him in week 1. Next point.
Pretty good.
Every team that plays the Saints until they prove otherwise is going to be hoisted up as the offensive fantasy, hodgepodge for the week. Just take anyone on this team. And honestly, after what we saw against Dallas, even New York's ground game, which I thought was pretty good down the stretch against the Cowboys late, they kind of hammered that game and ended it. What can you not do against the Saints at this point? With their starting 3 corners are P.J. Williams, Devontae Harris, Ken Crowley.
Well, the scary part is that they're signing guys off the street that might be put right into the lineup. I mean, Bleedy Ray Wilson might be playing for this team. What other replacement level cornerback did they sign this week? I forget that.
Never trust a man named Bleedy.
Definitely not.
That's a life motto right there.
Dan, can I call a timeout here?
Sure.
Have you seen this notebook from Mark over here?
Oh, wow.
This
you're
thing
going
is
notebook
intimidating.
Can you hold it up for the camera, Mark?
Look at
Little bit of note. I don't know where the camera is over
He's
here.
got play diagrams in there.
This was
Wow.
my Tennessee Titans, what they were doing on offense before the
Wait,
meltdown
what are those?
happened.
What are those? The drawings.
That's
the
called
renderings.
Dan. That's called a football diagram. It's an
What are you
offense.
doing with that?
I
got
spent,
highlights?
yeah,
He's
I
got
had a
Post-it
Wednesday off. I spent some time doing a little research.
Are you diagramming plays?
The
You got two
Titans
young
offense,
sons.
I think, is a fascinating offense in the first half, and we've already discussed that team.
I
Can you-
immediately feel unprepared.
Can you
What
explain
is going
the
on over
diagrams
there?
out loud?
Well, we have been given 3 minutes to discuss the Saints and Giants, so I will take that for another time. Maybe they'll allow me on NFL Now to do that for 2 minutes. Probably not.
NFL Now, maybe. NFL Network, never.
Definitely not.
We're all impressed.
All right. Wasn't going for that, but thank you.
Josh Norman, by the way, got called out. Now that Victor Cruz caught a ball, he's able to talk, I guess. He made a point to say that, Josh Norman, if you're such a high-paid stud, why aren't you covering the number 1 after he didn't cover Antonio Brown? Will we see Josh Norman against – well, no, we're not in this game. That wouldn't make any sense. But will we – I don't know where I'm going with this, actually.
Will we see Victor
Never mind.
Cruz?
Will Victor Cruz continue to yap?
The two most tedious players in the NFL, Victor Cruz, who hasn't done anything for like
tedious.
720
Come on.
days. Josh Norman, who's in the middle of every tedious discussion in the NFL,
That's-
talking about the most tedious topic in the NFL. Will a cornerback travel with number 1 receivers? Give me a break.
By the way, I got set up by the news cycle because why are we talking about Victor Cruz ripping Josh Norman when the Redskins aren't coming to town? What are we even doing, society? It doesn't matter.
That was a high wattage setup that the news industry set up on Dan.
Speaking
right
of things that don't matter, Bleedy Ray Wilson didn't even sign with
Hey,
the Saints. It
Bleedy.
was B.W. Webb and Sterling Moore. This is a disaster. This Saints team.
Greg,
Well, it's-
did not
say
look
something
worse.
nice about the Saints and save this segment.
Yeah. Victor
Willie.
Cruz, come back to us.
Willie Snead. Who does Willie Snead remind you guys of? I don't know who Willie Snead reminds me of. He's a unique player.
He reminds me of the Willie Snead that got cut by the Browns 2 preseasons
This-
ago.
This could be the best Saints offense since at least 2011. And
Wow.
they're going to have to score.
Since Darren Sproles and Jimmy Graham were
Yeah.
2 of the best at
I
their
think
positions.
there's no doubt it's better than it's going to be better than it's been. It's going to need to because it could be the worst defense in the league again.
Big
This-
test for both teams. A litmus test even. Test. Moving on.